People, Deluded, I'm back again. It's always a pleasure to be here and speak with you guys, people. Now, away from Arsenal, I was on the Athletic website the other day. Something because you lot watch my ads, I was able to subscribe to. So thank you very much for allowing me to reinvest in myself. But yeah, man, we all know the financial implications. While we're yet to fully see or comprehend or ever see what it will do for clubs, we all know that it's going to be difficult. And the Athletic, it tells you what we already need to know. Clubs are not exactly managed in the best way. You know, if you don't fix your house when the sun is shining, when it rains, like economically it's about to, people are going to be in problems. But without me waffling, let me crack on. Now, it's a lengthy one, people, because I wanted to get all the relevant points. But long story short, the Athletic analysed all the Premier League clubs' accounts filed at the company's house over the last few months, and the answer for the majority of them would appear to be there has been very little DIY done ahead of this storm. The accounts are awful, says John Purcell, the co-founder of financial analysis. I can't say the name of the app or whatever it is, but he said the numbers have fallen off a cliff for some clubs long before this crisis. Crystal Palace and Newcastle have taken advantage of an emergency measure that gives businesses 3 extra months to publish their year-end figures. So we don't fully yet know for sure the impact of what the 2018-19 season had on their books. So obviously you can't really paint the full picture because they haven't published it yet. But what we know happened, but we do know what happened at other Premier League, I'm moving like I can't read. But we do know what happened at the other 18 clubs, and it's stuff of accountants' nightmares. If we use the 2017 figures for Palace and Newcastle, the league's total income last season was 4.8 billion. But it's the players that need to give up money. 4.8 billion collectively with all these clubs. But it's the players, and the clubs can do nothing. And they want to furlong staff. See what I'm talking about, people? With most clubs reporting rises, albeit mainly small ones, in all 3 revenue streams: broadcast, commercial and matchday. Of the 18 teams of which we have up-to-date numbers, only Watford reduced their wage bill year on year. And obviously with transfers and moving players on, and renewals and things, we all know clubs probably lose a lot of money with these things. If we include the old figures of Palace and Newcastle, which are almost certainly lower than last season's, the league overall costs topped 3 billion. This means they spent 64% of their income on wages. But that average, Bournemouth, Everton and Leicester all spent more than 80% of their turnover on staff. Exactly half the league spent more than 70% of their income on wages. A level that automatically raises red flags for Europe's footballing governing body, UEFA. And according to Deloitte's annual review of football finance last May, the wage/turnover ratio was rising across Europe's 5 big leagues, obviously Italy, Spain, Germany, France and England, with the Premier League's figure rising 55% in 2016 to 59% 12 months later. The wage/turnover figures of 3 promoted teams, Newcastle, Sheffield and Villa, are even worse at 175%, 161% and 159% respectively. But that is par for the course in the Championship, which is a disaster zone for those who like to balance books and tidy profits. And this more or less means, in a long story short, Sheffield United spent £1.95p on wages for every pound that came in. So you can already see how that's a difficult business. They're paying 95p for every pound, an extra 95p more or less, people, and whatnot. The 6 richest clubs account for nearly 3 billion or 61% of that total turnover. Arsenal, have slid in recent seasons to 6th in the Big 6 mini league, earned 367.5 million in 2017-18, 176.8 million more than West Ham's best of the rest total of 190.7 million. That deficit is about the same as Bournemouth and Aston Villa brought in between them. Manchester United, the league's biggest earner, turns over more than 3 times as much as West Ham and exactly 4 times as much as Palace, Southampton, Man City and Liverpool. Second and third in the money list, and as competitive off the field as they were on the pitch last season, earned 4 times the amount Bournemouth bring in. Mad thing. This season, the clubs will share about 2.5 billion in broadcasting rights between them, with the rest going into parachute and solidarity payments to the EFL, assorted goods costs and central costs. These rights have been negotiated centrally, usually on a 3-year basis. Before the crisis, it is estimated Premier League clubs would earn 5.5 billion this season, 2 billion clear of the totals in the Bundesliga and La Liga. But as you guys know, British clubs spend twice as much on wages as German clubs and more than 50% more than Spanish clubs, which is crazy. Broadcast income accounts for about 60% of Premier League clubs' turnover. But if you are that reliant on a single income source and don't have any contingency plans, you'll always be at risk. Football is part of the entertainment industry, and like all other businesses in this sector, it will be hit by a lockdown. The difference is football has higher fixed costs than most, and these are wages and transfer instalments. As of last June, the clubs owed 1.6 billion in instalments and had 700 million coming in. Some of this money is circulating within the division, and some will be flowing downwards to the EFL. But there is a 900 million deficit. The concern is that financial problems in one league could spread throughout the industry just like a pandemic, and you can obviously see this. Some teams might be able to absorb costs a bit more, but you can see how this can have a knock-on effect and affect the transfer market, affect renewals, potentially result in job losses. And in football can have its very own corona-related crisis, but its own crisis, because we're already trying to get football back on. We're already talking about wage cuts, and when you see these things, this might be the real reason for wanting wage cuts and things, and clubs are not necessarily wrong. My thing is this: when the clubs were enjoying record TV rights and sponsorships, the money was just being thrown in the air. Clearly, it's not being put down for a rainy day, so you can't really these people can't really complain, sort of thing. Moving away from that though, people, and you know, footballers are worse than corona right now, people. It's like footballers are being blamed for corona by people in the MPs and things. You've all seen today as well, leading Premier League footballers have launched a fund for NHS charities called Players Together to aid the fight against corona. Now, I'm not too sure in the specifics if players are going to donate, you know, get their pay packets and donate at their own accord, if it's a wage cut of sorts. I don't know, but I'm seeing everybody involved. You're seeing, you know, young players, everybody involved. And I have to praise Jordan Henderson in particular as well, because I really like Jordan, how his approach has been with this. But yeah, man, apparently it's happened. You all saw last night that they all came out with that, and it's nice to see. I think it's called #PlayersTogether. And you will see some players have already been doing charity work before this. Some players will carry on to do it in addition towards this as well. It's lovely to see, people. Apparently it went on to say, we can confirm that after extensive conversations between a number of players from all Premier League clubs, assuming the captains of all the clubs, or maybe, you know, if it's not the captains, senior figures, we have created our own collective player initiative, Players Together, and have partnered with the NHS charities together in order to assist them in generating and distributing funds quickly and effectively to those who are in need the most. The NHSCT is the national umbrella organisation for over 150 registered NHS charities, working closely with the Charities Commission Department for Health and Social Care and the NHS England to represent, champion and support NHS official charities. The NHSCT are the official charity of the NHS nationally. Players Together is about we as players collaborating together to create a voluntary initiative to separate any other club and league conversations that can help get much needed funds to those that need it right now, to try and help along with so many others in the country and make a difference. And that's lovely to hear. The crucial bit is the last line is separate from whatever the Premier League and the PFA and all these other people are saying. The players have said, listen, you lot will do your thing. You lot keep having your meetings. We're going to do our thing. If you want to get involved in this. And again, it said voluntary. So I don't know if that means, you know, you do have a choice. You don't have to give your piece. But considering, you know, people are on anything from 20k a week, 20 grand a week to 300 and something, you'd like to imagine all of them will help, and all of them are honest professionals. And ironically, they are professional footballers, but you get the point. They said to try and help along with so many others in this country to make a difference. And that's lovely to hear. Away from that though, people, and you've heard Premier League clubs are set to scale back training regimes of their isolated players amid the acceptance that it will be months rather than weeks before the Premier League resumes. The Sports Mail has also said that some clubs are now preparing for a close season period in which players will be encouraged to combine rest with light exercise as they normally would between the end of the campaign and beginning of pre-season. At present, top flight stars are still working to routines they're assigned to, when it is hoped that the current season could still be played out. So as you can see, players are getting bored. Players are obviously going to be off naturally, so they're now thinking of a pre-season. You've heard apparently teams want to scale back what they're giving players because it's not from a biometric point of view. They're doing their running and stuff, but it's just driving people insane. You've also seen as well, people, that the Mail has also said a new app is being pitched to the Premier League, which would ensure only fans who have tested negative for COVID-19 or have immunity can go to the games. And I mean, that would be good, but you've got to think a bit logical. In theory, that's good, but you get it. Yeah, I assume you're talking about a membership, some sort of membership card on this app or something. That's great. But what if I test negative for that and I can prove, and again, if it's different, fair play, but what if I can prove that I'm negative, but I've got it? What happens then? And do you see what I'm saying? Or what if I might not have it, but I've gone to a burger stand where someone unbeknown might have it and they've given it to me now, and now I've gone in the stadium with my little card saying I'm cool, and I've gone in. Unless you're going to run the same way fans line up for tickets, you're going to run some COVID tests on them. How is it going to work? And you've got to remember, if you bring back football, how many people do you lot know? Yeah, when you're around the game, primarily people are going in the stadium. But how many people do you lot know? Because I know as an Arsenal fan, there's some man that just go to the pubs, watch the game on the pub, or they'll be around the Emirates, but they're not going in. They're going to the pub or they're going home and things like that. What if these people that aren't going to the game, that are being around, because we all miss the togetherness and the collectiveness of football, what if they've got it? What if I'm not saying charity people have it, but you typically go to games and there's people trying to raise funds for charities. What if my man's got it? Do you see what I'm saying? So this app thing really not going to work. Admittedly, I don't know the specifics, people. But apparently, the proposed plan for it is for its use in sport is to allow only people who have tested negative or have the antibodies to buy tickets for games. Fans would have to validate their health passport at the point of purchase and also have their app scanned by stadium security. Again, but if I scan and prove I'm positive, I'm cool with it, negative. And I've now come out that I'm positive, but I've got it on my app. People are sinister people. There are some guys that will just go to the game. I don't think it makes sense. In theory it sounds good, but I don't think it makes sense. And again, I don't know the specifics to really be passing judgment on it really, because I might think it's stupid, but the Premier League might say, boom, this is a mad thing, and it might work. I don't know. So, but that's just what I feel. As you lot know, we're potentially trying to get this going in June, or the Premier League is trying to get it going in June, but we'll have to see what happens in that regards. For now though, people, I'm not gonna lie, I've been sat here for a minute making hella vids, and this was actually the last vid, and I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder. My head is hurting, so I'm going to have a patty now, but I hope you lot have enjoyed this vid. If you want more, check out the rest of my vids. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe and share it up. For now though, I'm out.